And hello, everyone. Welcome. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. We have a great presentation for you this evening. Google Meet Enterprise features. And this really, we're trying to make this accessible for whether you're an educator, whether you're a parent, maybe you have a different role in education. Maybe you're just someone who wants to know about Google Meet Enterprise, but we're hopefully going to give a general enough overview that all of you will enjoy what we have to share with you this evening. So who are we? Well, we are Cobblestone Collective. And if you haven't heard of Cobblestone Collective, you may have heard of EdTech Team Canada. That was us. We've recently changed over to the Cobblestone Collective, and we are thrilled to be here with you, helping navigate yet another piece of technology, Google Meet Enterprise. And this workshop would not be possible if it weren't for our friends at Google. And we do have a representative here, Sandy Curry. Why don't you come out and tell us a little bit about who you are and how we got here?
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. We sure hope that at this time in the evening, you've maybe had a chance to have a bite to eat after a long day, maybe had a chance to get the kiddos into bed, and we're super excited to have you here tonight. So like Michelle said, my name is Sandy Curry, and I'm the STEM Program Manager for Google Canada. So STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And we always love to add the CS onto the end, the computer science, because that's really that backbone of the technology behind Google and all of that great technology that enables our daily lives. So we're excited to be here with you tonight. And it was, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago now when the announcement was made here in Ontario to extend distance learning that we thought we need to try to help educators. We need to try to help our families so that our kiddos can keep learning. So the amazing team at Cobblestone Collective was able to help us pull this presentation together. So we hope that you might even just take one nugget away with you. We know you'll take more than that, but maybe even just one nugget. And we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you're doing to keep everyone safe and learning during these crazy pandemic times. So let's have a great night.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sandy. And joining Sandy and myself, we do have a great team. Here at Cobblestone Collective, we couldn't do what we do if it weren't for the consultants that work with us. We have two amazing consultants with us tonight that are going to take us through this program. One of them you're not going to hear or see, and that's Danny Leeming. He is the guy behind the scenes, the Wizard of Meet. He is the one helping make this broadcast go out to YouTube, and so we thank Danny for being here. He's from Castlegar, BC, and we also have the lady of the hour, Miss Kim Polishuk, who's going to tell you a little bit about herself. Kim.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Polishuk. I am a digital literacy consultant in Ontario for the York Region District School Board, and I am excited to be here tonight to get to talk with you and show you some features of Google, specifically Enterprise Google. But before I do that, I think it's important that we start in a good way, because I am a settler on this land. It is very likely that you are participating and learning from or near the traditional territorial land of one of the many Indigenous groups across Canada. I acknowledge that I am presenting from the territorial land of the local Haudenosaunee people, whose beautiful land on which I am able to teach, learn, explore, and share my passion for technology with you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Kim. And so, as we mentioned, thank you and welcome and for being here. We are broadcasting to YouTube Live. And what that means is this broadcast is here for you now. It's here for you later. It's here for you if you want to pause and go grab a quick cup of coffee and come back. You can rewind, you can replay. But the beauty of this is if you do find that we're going a little bit fast, you can just pause us, rewind, and we'll still be here when you get back. So we're excited to be able to broadcast here through YouTube Live, except the only little minor problem is you can see us, but we can't see you. But we still want to hear from you. And we've found a way where we can hear from you. And that's, you'll see a link on the slides right now. the cc.page/myanswer. What I'd love for each of you to do right now is to go into a new tab. And in that new tab, I want you to type in the cc.page/myanswer. And what you're going to get to is a Google form. And you're going to be able to put answers into that Google form when we ask you questions. And we have the very first question is going to be, well, what's your name? And let us know, are you an educator or are you a parent? What is your role in whether it's in the school, but what is your role that brings you to want to learn more about Google Meet? So there you go. Go into that form, the cc.page/myanswer, and we're going to start to see those answers coming in live, and we're going to be able to respond to that. So what's your name? Are you an educator, a parent? Maybe you're a student. Just let us know who's out there.
While everybody is sharing who they are and perhaps why they've come to learn about Google Meet tonight, I'll give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering. We'll briefly talk about the basics. We'll give you a link to some special resources that we have already put together from last week's YouTube Live sessions. We'll go into a whole bunch of the Google Meet Enterprise features. And at the end, we will take our time to answer your questions to make sure that you have your voices heard and we can try to help you out with some of your questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim. And we do have lots of people joining us. We have Karen, who is a teacher. Bobby Joe is an educator. Vicky, both a parent and a teacher. Christine, elementary teacher. Matt's a teacher. Daniel is a parent. Jenny, kindergarten educator. Bless your soul. Hey, Richmond, IT support. Awesome. Great to have you here as well. We've got Kathy's a math consultant. Oh, Jessica, teacher candidate. Welcome, nice. And thank you for wanting to get into this world of teaching. We got lots of people here. I love it. Assistive technology advisor Katie, welcome. Diane, teaching online, welcome to you. But excellent. Okay, we have one more question for you as well while we're here testing out this form. So you're gonna click where it says submit another answer, and I have another question for you. My question for you is, back one slide, Kim, I'm going to ask one question before that. What district or school board are you from? And so we know we've got people from all across Canada. We also know some of you may have enterprise, some of you may not, but we just love to know, what school board are you from, or your child, what school board are you representing? And while you are in that form, the cc.page/myanswer, we're just going to remind you of a couple of other broadcasts we did prior to this, in case you missed them, in case you need some Google Meet basics. You'll see on the screen there's some links to some previous recordings that you can go back and check out to learn even more about Google Meet. So let's see, we have Halton, Bobby Joe from Halton, Valerie from Upper Grand, Dufferin Peel is here, Reagan, English Montreal School Board, Kathy, welcome, WRDSB, that's Lisa, York Region. So we have a fair bit of Ontario here. And I love that we have someone already asking, what exactly is enterprise? You're in the right place. We're going to tell you all about that. Excellent. Ontario Ministry of Ed, welcome. So definitely a fair bit of Ontario represented here, Kim. So that should give us some guidance on how we approach this. So thank you, all of you, for playing along in our forum. Kim, take it away.
That's great. Thanks. So Michelle already mentioned that these are two resources that you can access. We recorded these sessions over the last few days, also YouTube Lives, on Google Meet Basics for Teachers. So when we say basics, we're talking about the features that are not included in the enterprise version. And we recorded a segment for parents. So if you have any parents of the students in your class that you think might benefit from getting to know this vehicle that their students are using for learning every day, you can direct them to that Google link, and you will be able to see the YouTube Live broadcast that we did, and they can pause and play just like they can with the one we're doing today. Now, we already had this question, what is enterprise? Well, if you happen to know what enterprise is, it is the paid version of Google Meet that allows you to have additional features that you can use when engaging online with your students. We're curious to know, if you go back into that form, does your school board or does your child's school have Google Meet Enterprise? Let us know in that form, because some do, some don't. You may not even have any idea. If you don't know, let us know, because maybe by the end of this, you'll realize, hey, I do have it. Yeah.
Excellent. Perfect. So as Kim mentioned, pop back into that form, the cc.page/myanswer, and just let us know, does your school board subscribe to Enterprise? Does it not? Or maybe you don't know. And have no fear. If your school board doesn't subscribe to Enterprise, Kim is going to be giving you some strategies how you can manually do some of the features that Enterprise gives us, even if you don't have it. So stay tuned with that. We have a couple don't know. Lindsay says yes, thank goodness. Kathy's no. Kathy, like I said, don't worry. We're going to give you some strategies on how you can do Enterprise things without it. Couple not sure. How would you know, Christine? Some of these features Kim is about to show you. If you realize when you go over to Google Meet, you don't have them, answers the question, you don't have Enterprise. So with that, Kim, looks like it's kind of a fair bit across the board. We'll
make sure to include some pro tips in case you don't have these Enterprise features, how you can sort of DIY Enterprise features. So let's dive into these features. The first one I want to share with you starts off with another question. It's a trivia question. Okay, what is the maximum number of people that you can have in the Enterprise version of Google Meet? Who is going to know this answer? And it's specific to Enterprise because there are different numbers of people that you can have maxed out in a Google Meet based on the version you have. So give us those number guesses in the form. We'll see what we come up with. And then we'll let you know how many can we have in a Google Meet.
Oh, these guys might maybe be Googling the answers, or maybe they just know, but right off the bat, Josh knows it, Katie knows it, Kim in Alberta knows it, Marissa knows it. Awesome. We got Richmond, you got the right answer. Matt, you got the right answer. Kathy, you guys, this is so fun. I love this. I think we should just ask questions all session long.
That's all we'll do.
Go ahead, Kim. I think we can give the answer.
Well, if you guess 250 people, you are correct. You can have 250 participants in a Google Meet through Enterprise. One of the features of Enterprise is attendance records. If you have 5 or more people in your Google Meet, at some point after the last person leaves, you will get a spreadsheet sent to you via email, and it'll have a roster of all of the participants from the Google Meet, the duration of the time that they spent in there, and the time they joined and the time they exited. You can export that if you need to. You can keep it as a spreadsheet in your Drive, but you'll have that record. And notice right at the top, it'll name it, the date, and it will have some kind of the code. It'll have the code from the end of your Google Meet link. I just blocked some of it out here for privacy purposes, but it'll have the code, those last bit of letters from your Meet link. You can always change the name of the attendance if you need to in that spreadsheet, but that's how you'll be able to tell it's there. Let's dive into a feature that even if you don't have Enterprise, you will have this feature. This may be a little crazy right now. You might be thinking, whoa, what just happened? So we're doing a YouTube live broadcast, and I'm in a Google Meet, So this is so that you can see all of these features inside of a Google Meet. You have me as the teacher. That's me right over there. I'm the teacher. And these are all of my students. You can see their names. I have an excellent class list of students that have joined us today. And one of the things I love to do with my students is brainstorm, collaborate in a shared space. So there's a great tool inside Google Meet. If you go right up to the top, you'll see whiteboard, or otherwise known as a Jamboard. This is a collaborative whiteboard. If I click on this option right here, a window pops open. I can either start a new Jamboard right from scratch, right here, or if I have a Jamboard, again, that collaborative whiteboard space already prepared and saved in my drive, I can find it from my drive, bring it into my Google Meet, and then all of my students can collaborate together. So if I open one right now, give it a second, it pops up right on the screen. It's titled, again, with our date and the name of our Google Meet. You can always change that, but it's a helpful organizational tool so that you can reference it if you need to find it later. Automatically, the link to this Jamboard ends up in my chat so that all of the students easily can just click on that link and all jump into that collaborative whiteboard space together. They don't need to leave the Meet. They don't need to go search for it. It's right there. Now, the nice part about working with students in enterprise accounts. So I was mentioning that this feature, Whiteboard, is available to everybody. But when you're all in the same account, it will ask you, as soon as you create it, do you want to give all of the people inside your Google Meet access to edit that Jamboard? Yes, I want a space where I can collaborate with all of my students. So when this box pops up, it'll pull in all of the names of the students and perhaps other teachers in your Google Meet. And all you have to do is make sure this says edit and send. And then everybody will be able to collaborate together in that Google Meet, in your Jamboard. So what kinds of Jamboards can you create? Just to give you a sense of how you might use Jamboard. Here's an example of how you might use Jamboard in a primary classroom. You can ask students to create patterns together, spelling words, put pictures on a page, get them to arrange them, and then share the story. Maybe it's part of your morning message. I'm going to give credit to Susan Stewart, who created a lot of these samples. You can use it in the junior grades. Maybe you're asking them some organizational thinking questions, looking at labeling text, labeling diagrams, and all of these are examples of things that they could be doing together in this shared space. As we're getting older into intermediate senior, more labeling diagrams. It's an excellent space for true brainstorming, sharing ideas. And I love this option, checking in with Jamboard. Doing that social emotional check-in with them or a quick check-in for understanding is a great tool for that as well. But now I'm curious. I'm curious how you may already be using Jamboard. So we have a question. Whether you're using it in Google Meet or not, you might be using Jamboard because you know you can also create Jamboard in Google Drive. Jamboard created in Google Drive is a simple new, more, and then you can create a Jamboard right from here. So maybe you're already using it and you may just not have known that you can create it right from your Google Meet. So let us know in that form. How have you used Jamboard in your class? Or if you haven't and you're looking for this collaborative space, maybe you have an idea of how you might use a collaborative whiteboard space inside your Google Meet during synchronous learning.
I love this, Kim. Thanks so much for showing that. You know, I think the beauty of this workshop is, so what you showed there, using Jamboard when you have enterprise, it's nice and easy to share it inside of Meet. But thankfully, we all can have Jamboard inside our Google Meets. It's just a tiny bit extra effort to just get it shared with our kiddos, but it's super, super great feature. Those, if you've never seen Jamboard before, your mind is blown. You might have to pause us and rewind and go, what did she just show us? But we have lots of people that are using Jamboard.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely zones for regular check-ins. Math. So Patricia, so good. Whiteboards for math. Labeling diagrams, brainstormings. That's Valerie. The grows and glows for feedback from Sandy. Definitely we have math. We have math, drawing, brainstorming. Oh, wow. For the kindergartens, Brenda, I love this. Moving the names so she can take attendance for the kindergarten class. That's brilliant.
Nice.
Great suggestion, Brenda. Nice. Now, Kim, you had a bunch of templates there. Are you gonna tell us how we get templates or how we might find templates like those fancy ones you showed us?
You know what? Is that when you go to jamboard.google.com? Where do you
I
find templates? Or if you just, there's so many people that share them all over Twitter and all over Instagram and blog posts. People are constantly sharing templates that you can copy so you can have them for yourself. Do you have another place where you can find them?
No, that's totally it. You just Google Jamboard templates, and it's so great to see how many educators are sharing and so many great ideas. So definitely worth checking out for sure. Thanks for that, Kim.
That's great. Well, let's dive into another enterprise feature in Google Meet called polls. So I'm going to come over here to my shapes. That's where I'm going to access some of those enterprise features because I want to survey my class. I want to get a quick take on how they feel about something. So I'm going to demonstrate how to create a poll. I'll click on polls under shapes and I will start a poll. I'm going to ask a question, and this is an important question. This is an important question right now. Which of these superpowers would you want? Would you want to turn invisible? Would you want to fly? Would you want to move at the speed of light? Or perhaps you want to make all of your schoolwork magically done. Magically be done. So I might give this poll to my students to find out what they want to know. I can save this poll for later. I can just leave it in my polls section, and when I'm ready, I can click launch. Now I have to choose, do I want everyone to see the results, or do I want my students to not see the results? I can decide that just by clicking this dial. If it's on, all of the students will see the results as they come in. And if it's off, they won't. I'll go ahead and launch this poll. And my students are going to start to vote. And I have a whole group of students sitting over here that you can't see right now. But as they start to vote, you can see those votes coming in. It collects all of that data pretty simply. And it looks like we have one student here who would really like to get their work done. So here come all of those votes. And then if I decide at some point that I want my students to see it, I can simply turn it on and they will all see the answers. When I'm finished collecting that data, I end the poll. There's some really helpful reasons why you can use this in your class. We might check that out from you in a minute. But in case you're wondering, this is great, but I don't have Enterprise. How can I recreate this scenario? How can I do this myself? There's great tools that you can use like Google Forms to collect that kind of quick poll data. You can also do it in Google Classroom where you can create questions, multiple choice, just like this, and collect that quick data. Now,
Hey, Kim,
yeah.
I snuck a question into our Google form.
Oh yeah, what did you?
Same question.
Same
So
question.
we have poll results. Would you like the poll results from the Google form version?
I would like the poll, share the results.
All right, the results are in. We have a whopping 6.7% would like to turn invisible. 13% would like to move at the speed of light. Ooh, 33% would like to fly. But of course, the whopping 46.7%, oh yeah, get rid of all of my work.
If only that was the superpower. I'm waiting for that Marvel movie to come out where that's the superpower from the hero. So that's polls. It's hiding right here in your shapes menu. And I'm curious to know what might be a good poll question that you can ask, whether it's through the Enterprise feature Perhaps you're going to use a Google form instead, just like Michelle did with everybody here. She threw in a little multiple choice question. What might you use a poll question for in a classroom situation? How might this tool be useful for you? Of course, you can ask fun questions like that just for pure engagement, but I'm wondering if you can think of any ways that asking these kinds of questions, quick polls from your class, might be helpful. Any answers coming from Michelle?
We're just waiting. So I'm checking for understanding, of course. So thanks, Katie, for that. I guess the question did come in here. What did the students see? So where did the students see that poll question?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Thank you.
Yeah, that was Jennifer. Thanks, Jennifer, for asking that.
So just like we have the shapes here, so do students. And when students have a poll question that's ready for them, they'll see a little green dot right on top of the shapes. And that's sort of their notification symbol that, oh, my teacher's asked me a question. So they'll click on the shapes, and whichever option here has a green dot on it, that's where they have to go to find the question. So in this case, they would have clicked on polls, and that's where the poll would have sat, and they answer their question right there. So thanks for asking that. You'll see it, the green dot on top of the shapes as your notification.
And I'm really glad that was asked, because Brenda, you also mentioned like the poll question doesn't pop up. How come? I guess, you know, it's just hidden there subtly, and then the teacher can direct them to that Q&A. So awesome, great question. We do have some really cool things coming in. I like, Brenda, again, use it as a body break choice. So you can choose maybe 20 jumping jacks, etc. And so, okay, now you do your body break. Excellent.
Oh, I really like that. I hadn't thought of that.
Couple, maybe a question. Oh, exit tickets, of course, excellent. Someone was wondering, can we set the questions ahead of time?
To a point. You can't set them ahead of time before your meet begins. But like I said, if you go in here and start your poll, you have the option to save it for later. Later inside of this Google Meet, not later for tomorrow's Google Meet, but all the time while you're in here, you can prep them. So you know you're going to need them in 15 minutes with your students. You'll have it saved in your polls.
And one more question about polls. Can you actually see which student said what, or are they always anonymous polls?
In here, they are anonymous polls. However, if you were to do this in a Google form, like Michelle is doing right now, you could potentially see who answered what. And if you do a question in Google Classroom, you can definitely see who answered what. So there are benefits to finding different ways to ask these kinds of poll questions. Thanks for those. Those were good questions.
Yep, awesome.
Well, probably the most popular feature of Enterprise is going to be breakout rooms. How can I take my class and how can I shift them into different spaces to vary the learning situation, to do guided groups, to do small group work? That feature is available in the shapes. I'll walk you through how to create breakout rooms right now. I click on my shapes, and the first option is breakout rooms. Assuming I am the host of this meeting, meaning I am the first person to have ever opened this particular Google Meet link, I will have host controls. If I'm not, it won't have this right here. It'll have a prompt that says only the host can do this. So you want to be that very first person to ever open the link so that you have host controls. Well, I see my class is all in here. I will click Set Up Breakout Rooms, and I can see my options right at the top. When I first enter this window, it automatically creates breakout rooms for me. It tries to guess intuitively. Oh, I can see how many people are in your Google Meet. Perhaps 2 breakout rooms will be useful to you. If that's not what you want, and you're thinking, hold up, Google, I actually only want, I want 4 breakout rooms. I want to really break it down for my kids, or I want 3 breakout rooms, no problem. Your dials to go up and down are right here. You can't go to 1, but you can still only create 1. I'll show you how. You can go up to 3. You can go up to 100. I believe that is the maximum. Hopefully you don't need more than 100 breakout rooms, but just so you know, you can. Just by using these arrows, and you can also type it in. Now you'll notice, as soon as I increase the number of breakout rooms, it shifted my students around. It's trying to help me out. If I don't like the way this is organized, I can always drag and drop my students into different rooms. So I have the ability to reorganize this as much as I want. I can also rename my groups. So maybe I'm going to call this guided reading. And maybe I want to meet with these 3 students for guided reading, and I want these 2 students to stay in the main room. I'm going to leave these guys empty, and I don't even really need them. So I'm going to click on my X, just like you would in a Google form to get rid of a question or an option. I'll click on an X, and now I'm left with these 2 rooms. Now you'll notice it says 0 here. It doesn't let me get rid of that last room, but that's okay because I've got no one in there. I just sort of ignore it. If I just want one space to bring a few kids, similar, like this is perfect for guided groups. So I have my few students who stay in the main room, and I've got my small guided reading group. If I wanted to start right from scratch, I want to make my groups myself, I can clear it, and then I can just drag my students around as I need to form my groups. Now there's a great, relatively new feature for breakout rooms. We have a timer. This is very helpful. When I click on the timer, I can decide how long do I want to give my students in their breakout rooms. I can go ahead and I can make this a 3-minute breakout room. I could make it a 15-minute breakout room. Whatever works, you get to decide. When I'm ready to create this breakout room, I will click Open Rooms. Things are going to change on your screen as a teacher right now, and things will change on the screen of the students. From the teacher's perspective, I have at the top, breakout rooms are ending in 3 minutes. I can see on my right-hand side, I can join my guided reading group, or I can stay in the main call. Now you might be wondering, why are all these kids still in here? They're not listening to you. They should be going over to their room. That's because on the kids' screen, they have a bubble that's saying, time to go, you gotta go, and they have to click join. It's kind of giving them the key. They're like, okay, go, go, go. You know, open the door, go, go, go. I can't force them to go, but as soon as they click join, you'll watch their names move around on my screen, and off they go into their rooms. And now I can see the students have gone into the guided reading room. I'm here with my class. I have my few students here. I say to them, this is your task. These are the expectations. These are the 3 things I want you to accomplish while I go and check in with my guided reading group. So I've left these kids, they're working. I come to visit my guided reading group by clicking join. It's moving me from the main room into my breakout room. You can see it's green. That's the room I'm in. I'm now collaborating with these students. If I want to leave, it'll bring me back to the main room. So I work with my students. I give them a specific task, clear items that they need to accomplish so they know what their task is, and I can hold them accountable. And then I can leave and it will bring me back to the main room. Another feature in breakout rooms is if my students have a question, they can ask for help. And when they ask for help, I am notified, hey, oh, somebody's asking for help. It looks like Harry Potter's asking for help. And then as their time runs out, they are notified with a red banner at the top that says, time is running out in your breakout room, finish up your conversations. If I wanted to, I could go back to that group because I know they need help. Now that time is up, they want to come back in. So I am going to return to the main call. I think someone was trying to get in there, one of our viewers. So my students have to click a button just like they had to click when they were going to their breakout rooms. They have to click a button to come back to this breakout room. It's kind of like they're unlocking the door to come back in. And here they are, all back together again. So it's a little bit of a process, but it's really self-explanatory if you just look at shifting your students around, building your groups, and having them move there. My suggestion would be start small. If you've never used breakout rooms before, don't jump right away to 6 breakout rooms. Try one. Try a guided group or just a small group discussion. So you leave most of the class in one space, go have a short conversation with a small group, come back to the main class while they're working on something, and then you're practicing the skill just as the students are practicing the skill. When we work with our kids in the classroom and we have them working in small groups all around the room, we know that we have to teach them those skills, how to work collaboratively in a group, in a shared space. It's the same with this. We need to practice our skills and they need to practice theirs. Now I know some of you might be thinking, when I'm in that room, how am I going to know what my kids are doing in this room? Unless you're fortunate enough to have multiple educators in your class who can be distributed between the breakout rooms, you're going to have to leave explicit instructions for your students, work on accountability so that you can have the freedom to move back and forth. And if you think about it, if you were in your classroom, you can never have your eyes on every single group at all times. You don't know what that group's doing behind you in that corner while you're over here conferencing with this group. And I know it's not the same thing, because I know you can just sort of look over there and you'll see them, but it's the closest analogy we can come up with, and hopefully you'll see the parallel there of having your students in multiple spaces and building that management where you can go back and forth as long as the kids know what they're doing. Now, if you're thinking, I don't have Enterprise, how am I going to create my breakout rooms? There's other ways to do it. You can use your own Google Meets through nicknames. If you visit meet.google.com as a teacher, you can create a whole bunch of rooms with nicknames like Guided Group 1, Guided Group 2. And then if you ask your students to visit those nicknamed rooms, as long as you're in there first, they'll be able to join you. And then you can jump back and forth between those Google Meets. It's not as seamless as having it embedded within Google Meet, but there's absolutely a solution to it. When you use nicknamed rooms, you can ask your students to go and visit those nicknamed rooms by typing in a nickname into googlemeet.com. So those are breakout rooms.
We have a whole lot of questions, Kim.
Oh,
this
okay.
is
I had a feeling we might.
Yes.
I'm happy to pause to answer some.
Yeah, which is so great. Not only is this a keen group with so many questions, this is also a real smart group that's teaching us a little bit. So Karen, Kristen, Bobby Joe, and Valerie, thank you. Kim, did you know, so this is back to the poll question.
Yeah.
That when you get your attendance report, if you did a poll, it then tells you what
Right.
answered the
You're
poll.
right. Just like the Q&A. You're
Yep.
right.
So that's awesome. So thank you guys for helping us remember all of these features. And you might be able to help us answer some of these questions because there might be some tricky ones. So Kim,
Yes.
back now breakout rooms. Christine has 2 students that are never able to be put into a breakout room group. Both of them are on iPads. Is that something that is an issue?
Well, so Google Meets have been updated so that iPads should be able to join breakout rooms. My thought is that their iPads may be an older version. And if they're not up to date, then they might not be able to sync up with the necessary technical requirements that are needed to participate in breakout rooms. So that's my guess.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. What about, so April wants to know, can you change the room of a student after they've gone to a breakout room? Can you like shift them and like force them into another room?
I'm not sure, but we're going to check right now. We're going to make 3 rooms and we're going to open those rooms and we're going to join them. And let's just quickly see if I can do it, because this is how we learn. We try things, we make mistakes, and then we try them again. I have an edit rooms button up here. Let's see. Can I click and drag? I can't click and drag, but if I edit, can I move Miles over here and then save? And you know what? We can, because out of the corner of my eye, I see that Miles has been told, hey, Miles, you're joining breakout room 2 now. And I click, Miles will just click join, and then he's in breakout room 2.
We have the power to teleport our students. Amazing.
That's using this edit breakout rooms function right at the top.
That's excellent. And Kim, thank you also just for showing just how we just really have to learn as we go, and we have to be okay with that. So that's great. We did just have a question again, just about those attendance reports, which are now the poll question reports. And just how do we get those? Where do those come from again?
Okay. So attendance reports, you will get that emailed to you as the host if there are 5 or more students in your Google Meet. It will show up in an email and it will be in a Google spreadsheet. The polls will do the same thing. You won't need 5 or more students to get that. If you do a poll, you will get those results emailed to you after you finish the Google Meet. Once it's all done and closed off, they'll be emailed to you as a spreadsheet as well.
Excellent. Now, Kim, I think we're going into the general Q&A, but we still have a fair number of breakout room questions. Are you still good if we ask a few more of those?
I'm totally fine being responsive. That's no problem.
Awesome. And then also just everybody know, if we don't get to your questions, we're going to give you an email account where you can email us afterwards. So just know if we don't answer your questions, we'll have a solution for you to get help afterwards. But the question now, this one, going back to if you don't have Enterprise and if you are trying to go into multiple Google Meets, like how do you manage the audio? Like,
oh yeah, the audio is tough. The Enterprise tool is great because you don't have to worry about the audio because you're always in one meet at a time. But whoever asked that question, thank you. It's a really important one. If you're manually creating your breakout rooms, you should really get this Chrome extension that is called Mute Tab. Mute Tab. What it does is it allows you to mute individual tabs. Normally, if you want to mute something, you would right-click on the tab and mute or unmute the site. But the problem with muting the site is that every Google Meet would be muted, and that's not going to help you. You need to mute a tab. So if you get that Chrome extension, it'll sit right up here in your Chrome extension bar, or perhaps hiding under the black puzzle piece. Once you get that extension, you can decide individual tabs that you want to mute. So then as you go back and forth between your groups, you would mute and unmute the tabs and mute and unmute your microphone. That way, you won't have that lovely feedback sound that we get when we are in so many meets at the same time.
Excellent. Yeah. And I guess the other thing to mention too, typically that extension I think is something that's been approved by boards, but do just check and make sure that it's an approved extension. Anytime we're working with extensions, we want to do that. Michelle had a great question. Great name, by the way, Michelle. Is there a way that we can just keep the breakout rooms the same instead of having to recreate them every day? Is there a way to just kind of go back and there they are?
Oh, I really like that idea. You know what? I'm gonna show you something here. You see this 3-dot menu at the bottom right-hand corner? When you click on that and then select Report a Problem, we can give feedback to Google and let them know that this is a feature we desperately want. It will be so helpful, grounded in pedagogy. We want to be able to create our rooms ahead of time, or perhaps keep consistent rooms moving forward. So we can do that by sending them feedback. And I promise you they listen. I know they listen because I tweeted to them a couple of days ago. I tweeted directly to Google for Education, and they replied to me on Twitter with an answer. So they are listening. I do believe that if I create breakout rooms, and I'm going to close these rooms, if I go ahead and create new breakout rooms, I think it takes the same organization and recreates it the next time. I think it remembers the last one, or it remembers its auto creation. So we can't predetermine them and we can't hold them consistently every single meet, but I think we can if we end meets and then start them again. I think it will hold the same groupings.
Awesome, Kim. And I also just like things are changing so quickly with Google Meet, and a lot of these features are even brand new for us. And so we're just testing things out. So I do love those of you that are also helping us learn as well. Yeah. But yeah, that one's tricky for sure.
I think that's really important. Hold on a second, Michelle. I want to just emphasize that Michelle and I and Sandy and Danny, we may be facilitating this workshop, but you're going to ask questions that we may not necessarily have the answers to. And I just want you to know that that's normal. That's okay. We don't all have all the answers, and we just have to try it, figure it out, and help each other out along the way. So if you don't know something, that's okay, because we don't know everything by far.
Yeah, totally, for sure. All right, we have another question. So this is Marissa. So we know quick access, when that's turned on, the teacher, like usually we have that admit or deny. How does that work with the breakout rooms? Do I have to admit students into breakout rooms?
Okay, so the way that works is you create your breakout rooms just like this. See, it remembered my last order. You create them, and when you open them, the students have to click join on their screen. So when they click join, they go to the breakout room. I can't manually push them in there. They have to click join and then jump over. If you deny and accept people into your Google Meet, it doesn't quite have anything to do with whether or not you can put them into a breakout room. It's two different things. If they're requesting to come into the Google Meet in general, if you deny entry, they won't be in there, so then you can't put them into a breakout room. But once they're in here, you can move them in.
Nice. Awesome, Kim. So, yeah, there's still more questions coming in. Breakout rooms are such a thing. This is great. Valerie wants to know, is there a way that we can allow students to choose their own breakout rooms from within Meet?
Yes and no. I would say students cannot manually say, I'm going to that room. However, you could do a poll and you could see who, you wouldn't get the answers right away, but you could do a form. You could do a Google form. You could drop a Google form in your chat, drop the link in there, just like you're all doing a Google form right now. Ask them their interest, ask them where they want to go, and then you would drag their names to the groups that they want to enter. So no, they can't do it themselves yet within the breakout room tool in Google Meet, but you can DIY it. You can create that form, get them to tell you their preference, and you can honor that preference by manually dragging their names to those groups.
Awesome. Such great questions, you guys. Like I just love the engagement that we're getting, and I just love all of you just want to learn more. In the interest of time, Kim, I think, are there any other features in Google Meet Enterprise that we should make sure we talk about before we wrap up?
I would love to just mention that there's a Q&A and quickly talk about what recording a Google Meet means. There is another tool right over here in the Q&A. This is a question and answer tool. Kids can post questions. So if I have a student, let's say this student wants to post a question that is asking me about our math lesson, and then they post it, it will show up here. The whole class can see it right away. As the teacher, I get to identify whether or not it's been addressed by checking it off. That means it's been addressed, and there'll be a check mark on the student side so that they know it's been addressed. I can also uncheck it if I feel like I have to return to it. If I've decided I don't want my students to see this question right now, I can click on this don't look at it eyeball, and then they can't see that question anymore. If I don't want them to see it for sure, I can click on the trash can and delete it. Now you'll notice there's this thumbs up button right there. That means that the students can vote for these questions and tell you which ones are important to them. And as they vote on the questions, this number will go up. It'll stay where it is in the line of questions, but the number will go up, and that helps you as the educator to say, okay, clearly I can see that this is a pain point for my students, or this is a point of inquiry for my students that I should address. That will help you hear their voices through their questions. There's different ways to organize them, and the students have that ability too. So this is a nice alternative if you're finding that the chat is a little bit too difficult to control sometimes. If you want to slow their thinking down, you want to slow it down, turn off your chat, right? Turn off the chat up here, and then go into your Q&A and either turn it off so they can't ask questions, and when you're ready for questions, turn it on, and they'll be able to pose some questions. And just like the polls and just like the attendance, when your meet is finished, you will get a spreadsheet filled with the students' questions and who asked them. So that's the Q&A tool. They'll also have a green dot as soon as there's a new thing to respond to. The last piece I want to share about Enterprise is the ability to record. Now, you can record in basic Google Meets, and you can record in Enterprise Google Meets. Here's how recording works. The person who clicks record doesn't necessarily own the recorded video. Only the owner of the Google Meet can have ownership over that video in the end. So if a student clicks record, they will not own it. Only the teacher who owns the Meet will own the video. They can delete the video, they can do whatever they need to do with the video in the end. But with Enterprise, the video stays. You don't lose that video after a period of time. I believe with basic Google Meet, those videos are only going to last for a finite period of time now, and then you won't be able to access them anymore. Where do those videos end up? They end up in your Google Drive in a folder that will say Meet Recordings. There'll be a folder in here that will say Meet Recordings. And that's where they'll all end up. I think the other thing about recording that I wanted to say is if you do record your meets, you get a transcript of the chat sent to you at the end as well. You get all these little loot bags when you have an Enterprise after you finish a Google Meet. You get your attendance emailed to you, you get a transcript if you've recorded it, you get the answers to the poll questions and the answers to your Q&A, who said what. You get all this little loot bag when you're finished.
Yeah, so great. And I think also something just to keep in mind, your board or district may have rules over what you can record. Typically, if there's students inside a Google Meet, we're encouraged, like, don't record those. But yeah, just check with your school board about that. Questions. So I know some of you are asking questions. Can you go back and show us XYZ? Remember, you can pause us, you can rewind. So we encourage you to just pause and rewind and go back to what you'd like. Some of you are also asking questions about just general Google Meet features. If you want to stick around for another hour, we can go through Google Meet basics. No. But just remember, we're going to show you, actually, maybe Kim's going to do it right now. Thanks, Kim. So if you are still a little bit unclear on some of those basic features of Google Meet, like where to find the chat and so on, the cc.page/meetteachersgen, it is case sensitive, or Meet Parents Gen for January. Those will give you kind of a slower take on just the basic features of Google Meet as well. All of those that registered for this workshop, we'll send you a follow-up email just reminding you this recording is still going to be available as well. We'll send you those 2 links too, just so you have them. And those will be there kind of forever and ever to play over and over. So with that, we've got maybe 1 minute. Let me just check if there's a couple more questions. You guys are all, I've been just so truly fabulous. Kim, maybe you want to pop to that last slide there. Those questions that we didn't get a chance to answer, and there's some great ones in here, and it's killing me not to answer them. help@cobblestonecollective.ca. Go ahead and email us there. We have an amazing team who are able to answer our questions. They can also put you in touch with Kim. If there's something specific that Kim has showed us, we can get you in touch with Kim. But help@cobblestonecollective.ca. Excellent. We have... Yeah, I think we'll probably have to leave these questions. They'll take a bit too long to answer, but thank you all of you submitting those questions. We also would love your feedback if you wouldn't mind. There's another Google form, yet another link, the cc.page/feedback. You'll see Kim is just highlighting it there for us, the cc.page/feedback. We'd love to know what you think about the content here for Google Meet Enterprise, about our Google form, our way of interacting. Anything that you have to help make us better would be fabulous. And thank you, Danny, for being in the background and making this appear magically on YouTube Live. Sandy, thank you so much again for being here. Thank you for the support of Google Canada. Any final words from you, Sandy? Do you have that one takeaway that you learned?
Just loved watching both of you show us and role model trial and error. And it's okay to try this on and to see the collaboration between you, but also with responses from the form sort of shows the magic that's possible with a Meet in this synchronous time. So good luck to everyone. I'm sure that you got at least one nugget. I know I did. And again, thank you and be safe, everyone.
Yes, excellent. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Kim, for all of this just amazing Google Meet goodness. It's just been a pleasure learning from you.
I just wanted to say also thank you to all of the parents and teachers and maybe even students who might be tuning in. You have extremely long days right now, and the fact that you're here, for some of you in Ontario late at night, continuing to learn on behalf of our students to just give them a much even better experience. Thank you for that commitment. Thank you for that dedication. And thank you for spending this time with us tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Well said, Kim. All right, you guys, thank you so very, very much. And we hope to see you in a workshop